Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the discussion session for IBPS Clerk Prelims 2018. As a part of the reasoning section, we're starting with the verbal reasoning part, in which we'll be looking at the assumptions and inference-based questions that sometimes do come in the banking examination, whether it's a PO or clerical examination. Now, the level of difficulty can be different, but it's an on and off question. Mostly they ask questions on assumptions and inferences in the mains examination, but sometimes you can get them in the prelims also. So what we have to do in this class, you have to understand the concept of assumptions and inferences and develop the approach of solving such questions by discussing some of the problems from actual exam papers, right. So we are going to understand what are assumptions and inferences. Whenever there is a question based on an assumption or inference in the banking examination, the question paper setter always mentions to you, defines to you in the question what is an assumption. So if you look at a sample question, you will see that is clearly written there, assumption is something that is supposed or taken for granted, right, supposed to be true or taken for granted, whereas an inference is something that we can infer after reading a particular statement or a paragraph, something that we can infer, logically conclude. So let's understand here. So what is the exam telling you about an assumption? Assumption is something that is taken for granted, supposed to be true, or something that you take for granted, taken for granted. That means you say that okay, this is fine, this is the case. For example, you see, every day you start from your home, let's say go to your college or office. You start from your home at 9 o'clock and you reach your office at 10 o'clock or your college at 10 o'clock. So it takes you 1 hour on Monday, 1 hour on Tuesday. Now you assume that it will take 1 hour every day. So when you start from your home on, let's say, Wednesday, you again start at 9 o'clock because you take for granted that it will take you 1 hour on Wednesday also. If it is taken 1 hour on Monday and 1 hour on Tuesday, it will take 1 hour on Wednesday. This is what you are in a way assuming. So it will take 1 hour based on certain assumptions, that is the inference you are making. Now see, let me first tell you what is an inference. An inference is a logical conclusion. It's a logical conclusion based on something that you know. You are trying to conclude, you are trying to come to a conclusion of something that you don't know. So when you went from your home to office on Monday and it took you 1 hour, this is what you know that it took 1 hour on Monday to cover, let's say, a distance of 15 kilometers or 10 kilometers depending upon which city of India you live in. Now on Tuesday again you started from your home and it took you 1 hour, so again you have, that's something that you know that it took you 1 hour on Monday and 1 hour on Tuesday. So based on what you know, you are making a conclusion about what you don't know. That means on Wednesday how much time it will take. So you infer based on the information that you have that on Wednesday also it will take 1 hour for you, and your inference about the time that you are going to take on Wednesday is based on certain assumptions. You see, inferences and assumptions, that's why go hand in hand. The inference that you are making that on Wednesday also you will take 1 hour to go from your home to your office or school or college is based on certain assumptions. What are those assumptions? You believe that there will be no major incident happening that will delay you. For example, you will not have a breakdown of your vehicle, your car will not run out of fuel, there will be no accident on the road that will disrupt the traffic, there is no sudden traffic jams, traffic bottleneck, nothing will happen. Everything will be as it was on Monday and Tuesday. So you are assuming that everything else will remain constant, and based on that your inference is that you will take the same time. So assumptions are very, very important. Without assumptions, how do we make inferences? Let's say studying the principle of demand and supply or demand in economics. You see this word is there in economics that's called ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus means, it's a Latin word which means that everything remaining constant. You mean to say that everything will be same. That means if everything else remains same, then if the price of a quantity goes up, then the demand will come down. We cannot make this inference if we don't assume. that okay, everything else will remain same, that the income of the customer will remain same, and the taste and preference of customers will remain same, the market will remain same, so everything will remain same. You have to assume to come to an inference. So for everything that we do in our life, we have to make certain inferences, and those inferences are based on certain assumptions that this is a fact of life. Clear? So what these questions are trying to test in you is your ability to identify what is the inference that you can make, and if you are coming to a particular, making a particular inference, that means you are coming to a logical conclusion, can you identify what are the assumptions required to come to a logical conclusion. So sometimes they ask you to identify the assumptions, and sometimes they ask you to identify inferences. What you should keep in mind is that both assumptions and inferences are something that is implicit. So these information is what we call as implicit. Implicit means hidden, that means they are not mentioned. They are not mentioned. It's something that you have to read between the lines. You know, when you see, say you have to read between the lines, what is there between the lines? Is white space. If I am asking you to read between the lines, I am asking you to read that which is not stated. So both the assumptions and inferences are not stated, and it's left up to the reader to understand what assumptions the author has made. According to that, the reader can then come to a particular logical conclusion. Or if the author has mentioned a logical conclusion, he will still not mention the assumptions that he has used for coming to that logical conclusion. Clear? That's a little bit about assumptions and inferences. And an assumption again is something that you are supposed to take for granted, or suppose it to be true. You know, suppose it to be true. And inference is a logical conclusion that you can make after reading a particular statement. So what we can, how can we link these two together? So we say that if we have a premise, you can say a premise. Now what is a premise? A premise means information, what you know. What you know, and what is a fact. So this usually a premise is something which is a fact, it is something which is known to you, and it's information that is validated, and based on this you are going to make a conclusion, you are going to come to a conclusion, you are going to make some inferences. So premise or premises are there, something that you know for sure is true, plus there are assumptions that which you suppose to be true. Something taken for granted. Something that you believe to be true. The premise is something that you know is true, and assumption is something that you believe to be true, and both of these together give you the inference or the conclusion. Here, the conclusion is the inference. Although the word conclusion and inference can be used interchangeably, there is a difference between the word conclusion and inference. A conclusion is something that is not logical, not necessarily logical. Every conclusion need not be logical, but an inference is always a logical conclusion. So you can say that all inferences are conclusions, but all conclusions are not inferences. Keep this in mind. When we say a conclusion, it could be anything. You can come to a conclusion. This is your opinion. This is what you believe. You know, your opinion after reading a statement is your conclusion that you are making. It need not be based on a sound logic, but an inference is a logical conclusion based on certain premises, based on certain assumptions. You are coming to a conclusion. That's a logical conclusion. That's how you can link premises, that's information that you know for sure is true, and the assumption, something that you believe to be true, something that you take for granted, and using these two you come to the conclusion. So let's see one question here. A survey conducted this year in Bangalore found out that the number of people owning four-wheelers has increased since last year. Now from this statement, what is the inference that you can make? Clear? So what is something that you can tell is surely implied in this particular statement? Now we know that survey was conducted this year, and it found that the number of people owning four-wheeler has increased since last year. It clearly means that there was a similar survey last year. There was a similar survey last year. This is the logical inference we can make. There was a similar survey done last year. How else do we know that the number has increased? We know that number has increased because of this. There was a similar survey done in the previous year too, and that is how we know that the number has increased. That means the number has increased. We know the number has increased because we have data from the previous year also. Clear? A survey was conducted this year in Bangalore, found out that number of people owning 4-wheelers has increased since last year. It means that a similar survey was done in the previous year also. Alright. Now, if you look at this question here, of all the air conditioners manufactured in India, ABC brand has the largest sale. Clear? So, what we can tell about this, of all the air conditioners manufactured in India, ABC brand has the largest sale. Now, how is the author able to tell that? It means that the author has access to information. We can tell that the author has access to information regarding the number of air conditioners sold in India by the different brands, regarding the sales of air conditioners, ACs, in India by different brands. So, this is something that we know by all the manufacturers. So, he knows, or the one who is making the statements has information about, he has access to information regarding the number of ACs in India that are sold by all the different manufacturers. How else will you be able to tell that the of all the air conditioners manufactured in India, ABC has the largest sale? We cannot tell that unless until we have statistics for ABC. Clear? So, if we have statistics for every brand and we know, okay, this brand has sold this many ACs, this brand has sold this many ACs. So, if you know about how many ACs has, let's say, a Whirlpool sold, how many ACs has LG sold, and then different companies which are there, Voltas and every other company, and then we can say, okay, out of these companies, this company has the largest sale. That means the sale of ACs, the number of ACs sold in our country by different manufacturers is known to this one who has made the statement. Clear? Let us look at a question in the form of an exam scenario. Let's say this is a statement question given somewhere. The X finance company has launched a new tractor loan scheme. It has brought prosperity among the farmers. Which of the following assumptions is implicit in the above statements? Clear? So, again, an assumption is something that is supposed or taken for granted. This is what I meant when I told you that in the question they will clearly specify what is the meaning of an assumption for those who do not have any idea about this. Let us see here what is happening in the question first. This is one statement, just one statement we have to read. The X finance company has launched a new tractor loan scheme. It has brought prosperity among the farmers. Clear? So, that means the loan scheme has directly brought prosperity among the farmers. So, one thing that we can clearly understand here is that farmers have availed this loan scheme, even though it is not directly required for this question. Let us try to understand. Loan scheme has brought prosperity among farmers. So, just bringing a loan scheme does not cause anything unless until farmers take loan, right. So, farmers have taken loan, they have availed the loan scheme. So, that is the first thing that we can assume. We can definitely assume, that is assumption number 1, that farmers have availed the loans. Farmers have availed the loans, they have taken the benefit of this loan scheme. And what is the loan scheme about? It is a tractor loan scheme, right. So, they have purchased tractors. What have the farmers done? They have purchased tractors using this loan scheme. And it is because of these two that they have got prosperity. So, that means how is tractors causing prosperity? So, that means tractors lead to that is the final, we can say, assumption. Tractors lead to prosperity among farmers. We know that it is given to us that tractors lead to prosperity, and if something leads to prosperity, what does it mean? It means it is important for the farmers. So what will be the answer then? Tractor is an important input for farmers to enhance the farm activities, because prosperity among farmers increases when farm activities increase. That's one major thing that we have to understand, that prosperity among farmers will increase if the okay. So prosperity among farmers will improve if their farm produce goes up. So if they can produce more, if their production goes up, they can sell more and they can make more money. That means tractor is an important input for farmers to enhance farm activities. And this is let's look at one. Why is one not the answer? Look at the first one. The prosperity of farmers solely, when we have words like solely or must, and these cannot be the answer, because they are extreme statements. Solely, must, only, definitely. So whenever we are looking for assumptions, we don't use words like these, because assumption is something you are supposing, you are assuming. You say, okay, this might be true. You are not saying this must be true. This will definitely be true. So that's the difference. So these words solely, must, only, definitely, 100%, these will weaken the conclusion. So saying that prosperity depends on tractor loan scheme, solely depends is what makes this option wrong. Earlier there was no tractor loan scheme for farmers. How do we know that? This X finance company is there which has brought in a new tractor loan scheme. Does it tell us that earlier there was no tractor loan scheme? No. So that's why this is not the answer. And farmers do not prefer to take loans for buying tractors. Now this is out of context, so this is not there. That's why the answer is 2. Now there are a few things that you have to keep in mind while solving questions on assumptions. Let's see first of all that you keep yourself restricted to the information provided in the statement, and any assumption or inference you make should be based only on that much information. Anything that is going beyond the scope of the statement given to you will not be the right answer. Anything that brings in an additional point in the question cannot be the right answer. Assumption must be in the scope of the argument, in the scope of the statement given to you. So keep these four things in mind, that one is in the scope of the statement, both assumptions and inferences have to be based directly on them, and any point, any option that brings in a new concept, a new phenomena, new point in the answer option, then that will be wrong. And fourth one is, if there is anything like these extreme words solely, must, only, and definitely, then that also becomes an unlikely candidate for the right answer. While solving questions on assumptions and even for inferences, always use the elimination technique. Go through the options one by one and see if you can eliminate the options. You can say which one definitely is not in the scope of the discussion here, which one is bringing or using extreme words, or which one is introducing a new concept, like farmers do not prefer to take loans. Now this is a new concept here. There is no discussion about preference of farmers not. The statement is simply telling you that there is a new loan scheme, and that loan scheme has brought prosperity among farmers. Doing some kind of work like this, the way I have done below, that can also help you solve questions in the examination. Now previous session contest question, find out the odd one out from the options given below. Clear? Find out the odd one out from the options given below. Let's look at the options here. So first one is BJL. Now how are B, J and L related? So this is based on letters, and from B if you go to J, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and J, K, L, there is a gap of 1, J, K, L, there is a gap of 2. If you look at D and Q, Q, R, S, T, U, there is a gap of 4, R, S, T, and then U, H, I, J, K, there is a gap of 3, and M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, again gap of 5. That's not consistent. Let's see what else you can do. You can take the positional value of letters. See if you get any odd one out question. Trust me, one thing that you should do is to approach the question using a positional value method. Okay. Now what is J? J's value is 10 in the English alphabet, and if you have done my letter based reasoning class earlier, I had given you a keyword there, that is BJOT, BEJOTY, and these letters in this word give you the position value where B is 2, and then all of these are multiples of 5. Now this keyword helps you in finding out the positional value of other letters in the English alphabet. That's how I know that J is 10. and if j is 10, k, l is 12, and what is the link here? You can see here 2 plus 10 is 12. That means the positional value or the third letter is obtained by adding the positional value of the first and second letter. That's the key here. Okay, the third letter is obtained by adding the positional value of the first and second. So that's the logic in A. Now what is the logic in B? Now look at DQU. What is D equal to? D is equal to 4, A, B, C, D, and Q, O, P, Q. So O is 15, so P, Q, and Q is 17, and 17, 4 plus 17 is equal to 21, and 21, now T is 20, so 21 is U, so that's correct. No, B, A and B both have the same logic. 21 is U. Let's look at C. What is C? What is the positional value of C? So we'll say C is equal to 3. What is H? So H, now J is 10, so Hij, H is 8, and when you add 3 plus 8, what do you get? You get 11. So 11, which is the 11th letter? J is 10, so K is 11th, and here K is there. So that's correct. So that means A, B, and C all are same. So odd one out will be definitely D, but let's verify. So G is equal to 7 because E is 5, E, F, G, G is 7. And M is 13, O is 15, so N 14, M 13, and 7 plus 13 is equal to 20, and 20 is T, so it's not S. You see, this should not be S, it should be T. That is why D is the odd one out. Clear? So we have seen the previous session contest question. Let's look at the contest question for this session. How many such pairs of letters are there in the word pragmatic, each of which has the same number of letters between the two letters as there are between them in the English alphabet? How many such pairs of letters are there in the word pragmatic? Yeah, I've discussed something like this before with you, so if you have been following the classes and practicing, you should be able to solve this question without any doubt. So try solving the question, and you can post the answer in the comment section. So now we'll continue with the session on assumptions and inferences. Let's look at some more questions on assumptions and inferences and see how to solve them. Right. So the solution for this contest question I will be discussing in my next video session for IBPS Clerk Prelims 2018. Now let's go ahead and look at the question on assumptions and inferences. Let's look at this question here. The center reportedly wants to continue providing subsidy to consumers for cooking gas and kerosene for 5 more years. So there's a big statement here. There's a lot of this huge, it's like a short reading comprehension, close to 150, 160 words. And so how the questions are asked sometimes is one paragraph like this is given to you, followed by a question, which is following is an inference which can be made from the facts stated in the above paragraph. So what we'll do is, let's read the paragraph first. Let's see what all are given in this paragraph, and then we'll solve the question. The center reportedly, that means as reported in the newspapers and other places, wants to continue providing subsidy to consumers for cooking gas and kerosene for 5 more years. So what does the center want to do? Provide subsidy to consumers, okay, for gas and kerosene. Okay, this is not good news. So the author is saying, author is saying this is not good news for the point of view of reining in. There's a G missing in here. Okay, spelling is not right. In the fiscal deficit. That means that we know that the author knows, everyone knows, there is a fiscal deficit. So you understand, there is a fiscal, it's an established point, and the author believes that this news, the center wants to continue giving subsidy to consumers for cooking gas and kerosene. The author says is not a good news, because from the point of view of reining in the fiscal deficit, the difference between the government's expenditure and earning, revenue and expenditure, that is what is called as deficit, fiscal deficit in 1 year. You know, mounting subventions for subsidies means diversion of savings by the government. So what if the government has saved, that will be done, diversion will be there from investment to consumption, raising the cost of capital in the process. So what will happen? The cost of capital will increase, and the government will be diverting fund from investment. So the fund that the government could have invested in infrastructure development of the country will go towards consumption by the consumers who will be buying petrol and gas and kerosene, right, out of the subsidy. So this is what the author believes that is not good. The government must cut expenditure on subsidies to create more fiscal space for investment in both physical and social infrastructure. It's a very strong word, the government must cut. The author believes that is the definite requirement for the government, that it should cut the expenditure on subsidies. Instead of spending on subsidies, it should create more space, more budget for investment in physical and social infrastructure. It should outline a plan for comprehensive reform in major subsidies including petroleum, food and fertilizers, and set goal posts. So basically the government wants to continue the subsidy, and author is trying to tell why this is not a good plan and what should the government rather do. Let's look at this. Which of the following is an inference, something that we can understand logically from the fact stated in the above paragraph. Okay, India's fiscal deficit is negligible in comparison to other emerging economies. The moment we bring in a new point, are we talking anything about other emerging economies? No, it's a new point. So answer is not right. A is not right. Subsidy on food and fertilizers are essential for growth of Indian economy. Okay. Now this is nothing, nowhere definitely mentioned about fertilizers here. We have food and fertilizers in the last part, and this is not something that is very essential. Otherwise, the author would not be saying that the government should remove subsidies on food, fertilizer, and all those things. So B is a doubtful scenario. Reform in the financial sector will weaken India's position in the international arena. Again, we are not talking about reform. We are not talking about international arena. This is out of context here. Gradual withdrawal of subsidies is essential for effectively managing fiscal deficit in India. This is what is definitely the answer, because that is what the author talks about. There is a fiscal deficit, and the government should try to remove, should eliminate, should outline a plan. That means it should not be an abrupt change. That's why the thing, the others should outline a plan. How will they remove the subsidy that is being given? So that's why the answer is D. Okay, all right. So we have seen this question. Now let's look at the next question here. The convenience of online shopping is what I like the best about it. So author is saying that the thing that he liked the most about online shopping is the convenience. That means you can shop from your home. Convenience means ease and comfort. Clear? Is what I like the best about it. Where else can you shop even at midnight wearing a night suit? You do not have to wait in a line or wait till the shop assistant is ready to help you with your purchases. It is a much better experience. You can say that why does he like this online shopping? Is because where else can you shop even at midnight? That means we can shop on online websites at midnight. That is something that can be logically concluded from the statement. Wearing a night suit, you do not have to wait in a line. That means we can logically infer that usually in brick and mortar shops, people have to wait in line or wait till the shop assistant is ready to help. Clear? Whereas in online shopping, you don't have to wait. You can shop on your own and place order. And based on this, the author is saying it is a much better experience as compared to going to a retail store. That means author has a consumer's view presented in an article. Whoever has given this view has, we can say for sure, has experienced both retail store and online shopping, which is why he is able to compare both of these things. So which of the following can be inferred? One can shop online only at night. Not, obviously not. Those who are not comfortable using computers can never enjoy the experience of online shopping. Now again bringing in a new point here. Not correct, not correct at all. See, any statement which brings a new point will not be right. All retail stores provide shopping assistance to each and every customer. Not right. Again, this is making it extreme case that every retail stores do. You can say some retail stores, if it was written here, that could be inferred. That could be a right inference. Consumer whose view is presented has shopped at retail stores as well as online. Yes, this is the answer. That is why the author is able to compare both. Clear? He is able to tell that in online shopping you can shop at midnight wearing a night suit, whereas in a physical store you have to wait in line and you have to wait for the staff to be ready to help you, and that is why he is able to compare, because he has experienced both types of shopping. That's why the answer is 4. Clear? Now let's look at the next question here. This is a question again based on inference, so this will be a long paragraph given to you, and then there will be some questions, some options here like A, B, C, D, E, which are based on you have to find out if the inference is definitely true. It properly follows from the statements given. Probably true, That means it may or may not be true, we don't know. If data is inadequate to decide whether the inference is true or not, and probably false. That means the data, we can very clearly say it may or may not be false. We are just a little doubtful. And definitely false means 100% you can say that the inference is wrong. So that means there are 5 options. Definitely true, the inference is definitely true, it's probably true, data is inadequate, we cannot comment on it, probably false, and definitely false. So we have to read the statement first here. What is given to us? What is the paragraph telling us about? The jeweler next door may have reasons to worry. So first of all, something to tell about the jewelers. That means something is problematic for them. Thanks to the organized retail and branded goods hitting the right chord from Indian consumers. Right chord with the Indian consumers. That means the organized retail and branded goods, right, hitting the right chord. That means Indian consumers are preferring organized retail and branded goods. The recent changes in lifestyle, goods industry and the diamonds industry, gold industry threaten to impact the family jewelers segment, which currently controls 97% of India's fragmented jeweler retail market. A study suggests that as India's jewelry market matures, it is expected to get more organized and the share of family jewelers is expected to come down. Okay, so that's a study which is saying that as the market matures. Which market? The jewelry market. The family jeweler segment is largest segment of the market and hence most likely to be impacted by these changes. Okay, family jewelers will have to bring in more practices and range of designs. That means right now they don't have sufficient range of designs. Okay, they have to bring what? More practices and range of designs, and customization also would differentiate the players. Alright, currently organized retailers are enlarging the pie, but the traditional players are not feeling the impact yet. So right now they are not feeling the impact, but the author believes that they will feel the impact in the future. Who will feel? The family jewelers will feel. Why? Because customers are liking the experience of shopping in organized retails and branded kind of gold or jewelry shops. Clear? And this is because of what? Because of the recent changes in lifestyle industry and diamond industry. There will be an impact. And we know for sure there is a fact that 97% of the jewelry market is controlled by family jewelers right now. Correct? And what the author is also saying that as the market becomes mature, it will get more organized, and this will share of family jeweler will come down gradually. The author is also admitting that the family jeweler segment is the largest segment of the market and hence will be most impacted. And he is saying that the family jewelers have to bring in more practices, better practices, more customization, range of designs in order to stand out. And currently organized retailers are enlarging the pie. That means they have a small portion, they are increasing the share in the market share. And traditional players are not feeling the impact yet, but they will feel the impact in the future. Let's look at the 5 inferences and let's decide whether they are definitely true, probably true, data inadequate, probably false, definitely false. First one. Share of business of the small time jewelers will reduce substantially in the near future. In the near future is not feeling the impact yet. It will take some time. So likely to be impacted by these changes. So we can say that it is probably true. So it is not definitely true because the word is a little extreme here. No, we cannot say that because the word substantially is causing the main problem. Okay, so this is a probably true. Family jewelers have never customized the designs in the past. This we cannot say because we know that they have to range of design and customization generally would differentiate the players, but this is using the word never, so it is probably false. We can't say that, it's probably false. Big retail companies have the capability to bring in more competition in the jewelry market. Big retail companies have the capability to bring in more competition in the jewelry market. Yes, this is definitely true. So that will be A. And family jewelers at present control about 2/3 share of the entire jewelry market. Right now they have control about 97%. This is definitely false. We know very clearly that they control 97% of the market, not 2/3. Okay, so that's definitely false. There is a perceptible, that means an opinion is there, change in the choice of customers in recent times with regard to lifestyle product? Yes, this is definitely true. So the answers we can get here. So it's more like a reading comprehension, and inference is something which is not directly mentioned in the passage. Remember that. An inference is something that is not directly mentioned in the passage but can be understood after reading the passage. And this is the kind of question that you more likely to get in the mains examination, not so much in the prelims examination. Assumptions and inferences both I have covered for you, and I have shown you some of the questions, how to tackle those questions. Practice is very important, so the more you practice, the better you will become in understanding and solving these questions. Now is the time for the class practice pack, in which you have 10 questions from assumptions and inferences. Those who have passport access will start solving the questions once you hear the sound. The question that you will get wrong, most of the questions get wrong, I will be discussing in my next video session. So best of luck to you for your examination, and thank you for watching the video.